The discovery shocked Dubai's elite community. Early one morning, inside the gated streets of Jumeirah Heights, the lifeless bodies of Ayaan and Laila Rahman were found in their sprawling luxury home. The couple had built an empire that symbolized success and stability, a multi-million-dollar villa, luxury cars, and an enviable social circle. Ayaan had made his fortune through high-end real estate developments, known for his sharp business instincts and calm demeanor. Laila, with her background in design, ran a thriving online fashion brand that catered to the city's elite. Together, they represented the image of perfection that many admired but few truly understood. Behind their glamorous life, however, was a silent struggle that consumed them for years, their inability to have a child. After countless medical treatments and emotional disappointments, they turned to surrogacy, a decision that promised hope after years of heartbreak. They reached out to a private agency overseas, paying over $200,000 for what they believed was a legitimate and legal process. Months later, the couple returned to Dubai with a baby boy named Amir. Friends said they seemed happier than ever, often sharing photos of the child online, presenting him as the final piece to their perfect family. But that illusion began to fade just months after the child's arrival. Neighbors noticed the house had grown quiet. There were no more luxury cars pulling in or deliveries from high-end boutiques. Even the household staff, usually active around the villa, seemed to have vanished. Packages began to pile up near the front gate, and the once bright mansion appeared strangely lifeless. A few neighbors assumed the family had traveled abroad for business. It wasn't until a delivery driver reported a strong odor coming from the house that authorities were alerted. When police entered, the silence inside was eerie. The air smelled faintly of expensive perfume mixed with something darker. Upstairs, they found Ayaan and Laila lying side by side in their bed, motionless. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, and nothing appeared stolen. The baby's crib stood empty. Security cameras were turned off, and the last recorded footage showed the couple alive just 2 nights earlier. The scene left investigators baffled, a wealthy couple dead without struggle, their infant gone without a trace. What looked like a peaceful household had become the center of a chilling mystery. Detectives began their investigation with more questions than answers. There were no fingerprints other than those of the couple, no broken glass, and no signs of forced entry. The doors had been locked from the inside, and security systems were still active. Even the guards stationed at the main entrance of the gated community reported seeing no suspicious visitors in the days before the deaths. The mystery deepened when the autopsy revealed both Ayaan and Laila had traces of a rare sedative in their systems. One not commonly available in the UAE, it was strong enough to render them unconscious in minutes but required precision to administer, suggesting the involvement of someone with medical knowledge as investigators pieced together the couple's final days. They discovered that Ayaan had recently withdrawn large amounts of cash from his business accounts, far more than he usually handled. Layla's phone contained several deleted messages, which experts managed to recover. Some of these were from an unknown foreign number, demanding payment and threatening consequences if she failed to comply. The tone of the messages was cold and professional, hinting at blackmail rather than personal conflict. Security camera footage from around the villa became the first solid lead. In the week before their deaths, only 3 people had approached the house: a maid who hadn't been seen since, a delivery driver dropping off groceries, and a woman carrying a baby who appeared briefly at the gate. Investigators enhanced the footage and identified her as Elena Petrov, the surrogate mother who had given birth to Amir months earlier. This revelation shocked everyone close to the couple. Elena was supposed to have returned to her home country shortly after the birth. Immigration records, however, revealed something disturbing. She had re-entered Dubai 3 days before the Rahmans were found dead. Even more suspicious, she had left the country just 12 hours after the discovery of the bodies. The timeline was too precise to ignore. Authorities placed an international alert on Elena, describing her as a person of interest. Meanwhile, search teams combed the city for any trace of baby Amir. Days turned into weeks, but there was no sign of the missing child. The glamorous image of the Rahman family had now shattered into a haunting puzzle, one that seemed to point toward betrayal from the very person who had given them the child they longed for. The search for answers led investigators far beyond Dubai's borders. When authorities contacted the surrogacy agency the Rahmans had paid, they discovered that the company no longer existed. The official website had been taken down, The phone numbers were disconnected, and the listed office address in Kyiv was nothing more than an abandoned building with broken windows and peeling paint. It quickly became clear that the agency had been a front for something much darker. Detectives working with international authorities uncovered that several other couples from different countries had used the same agency, all with similar stories. They had paid enormous amounts of money, only for the company to vanish once the baby was delivered. Some couples reported being contacted again later, receiving messages that demanded more money in exchange for keeping their adoption private. What began as a hopeful journey to parenthood had turned into an elaborate global scam. When Layla's phone was examined further, investigators found more chilling evidence. Hidden among her deleted emails were multiple threats from unknown senders. The messages warned her that the baby she had received was not legally hers, and that the child must be returned if payment is not completed. The tone grew increasingly aggressive with each message, yet there was no record of Layla or Ayaan reporting any of it to authorities. It seemed they had chosen silence over scandal, likely fearing that exposing the truth would damage their reputation and business. Financial records revealed a transfer of $50,000 to an offshore account in Cyprus 2 days before their deaths. The recipient's details were linked to a fake name and identity, but investigators later tied it to a man connected to black market surrogacy operations. After that payment, there were no more messages, no more calls, and no signs of contact. The last known activity on Layla's phone occurred on the night before their deaths, a call lasting only 12 seconds to an untraceable number. From that moment, both phones went silent. The timeline painted a chilling picture. After months of fear, the couple had likely tried to negotiate or make peace with those threatening them. Instead, within hours, they were dead and their baby was gone. What seemed at first like an isolated crime was now unfolding into a complex international web of deceit and human exploitation. So, investigation intensified as authorities began tracing the network behind the fraudulent surrogacy agency. Through encrypted emails and offshore bank accounts, detectives identified a man named Victor Novak, a former medical technician from Romania who had worked in fertility clinics before being dismissed for unethical practices. He was known to operate under several aliases, and his trail led to multiple illegal fertility operations across Eastern Europe. Victor was not just an associate, he was the architect of the entire scheme, and Elena Petrov was one of his key accomplices. Interpol agents tracked Victor down in Bucharest, where he was living in a high-rise apartment under a false name. When questioned, he initially denied any link to the Rahmans, but later admitted he knew Elena. He claimed that she had gone rogue, taking matters into her own hands when the couple refused to pay the remaining money. However, his statements raised more questions than answers. Investigators soon discovered digital files on his laptop containing falsified DNA reports, birth certificates, and photos of several newborns, all linked to different clients. It became clear that Victor and Elena were part of a vast operation that manipulated desperate couples, selling babies through fake surrogacy contracts. A crucial revelation emerged when Victor confessed that the Rahman's baby might not have been their biological child. According to him, Elena had switched infants at birth, giving the couple a different baby from another trafficking network. The real child, born from Layla's surrogacy arrangement, had been sold to another wealthy family willing to pay a higher price. When Ayaan discovered inconsistencies in the baby's medical papers and DNA records, he confronted the agency, unknowingly sealing their fate. Victor's story seemed too convenient, but investigators couldn't ignore its details. Before they could confirm his claims, Victor was found dead in his apartment from what authorities described as an apparent suicide. His computer had been wiped clean, and no traces of the remaining network were left behind. Meanwhile, the search for the missing baby continued. After months of international coordination, police found the infant in Qatar, living with a family who believed they had adopted him legally. DNA tests later confirmed it was the same baby from the Rahman home. The discovery raised chilling questions. If this was the wrong child, then where was the real one, and how many more victims had fallen prey to the same sinister trade? Months after the shocking discoveries, the investigation spread across several continents. Authorities unraveled a tangled network of human trafficking, illegal surrogacy, and identity fraud that operated quietly beneath layers of forged paperwork and offshore accounts. More than a dozen people were arrested, including brokers, doctors, and fake adoption coordinators. Among them was Elena Petrov, who had been hiding in Poland under a new identity. She was living in a modest apartment, posing as a caregiver, when Interpol agents finally caught her. Her arrest reignited the media frenzy surrounding the Rahman case, and her trial became one of the most followed criminal proceedings in Dubai's history. During questioning, Elena admitted she had traveled to Dubai to confront the couple, claiming she was there only to reclaim the child. According to her version, she had been pressured by the organization to recover the baby after Ayaan and Laila refused to make the final payment. She insisted that when she entered the house, both were already unconscious. Investigators found her story inconsistent with the evidence. Her fingerprints were discovered on glasses in the couple's bedroom, and traces of the same sedative found in the victim's systems were present on her belongings. Despite her claims of innocence, the evidence painted a darker picture. It became clear that Elena had played a direct role in administering the drug that ended the couple's lives. The court sentenced her to life imprisonment, but she refused to name the higher figures behind the operation. Without her cooperation, much of the network's leadership remained hidden, continuing to operate in the shadows. The case was declared closed publicly, but internally, authorities admitted that many unanswered questions remained. The Rahman villa, once a symbol of wealth and perfection, turned into a place of eerie silence. After the investigation ended, the property was put up for sale, but no one dared to buy it. Neighbors often spoke of faint cries echoing from the empty rooms at night, as if the walls themselves carried the couple's grief. Years later, the tragedy of Ayaan and Laila became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how desperation for a child had led them into the hands of predators who saw human life as a business. The truth behind their deaths, buried in lies and greed, still lingers like an unfinished chapter in one of Dubai's most haunting mysteries.